Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I think we should discuss something very important about SPT. So, many of you have been following the project with SPT 3.11 that's been out for a little while now. You've probably been seeing a lot of the comments about the various mods that have been updated, those that have not been updated, and also, if you saw my video about performance, and even just read about it at all in any of the comments online, you'll probably know that the latest version of SPT is suffering from a lot of the changes that were made to the live game, Escape from Tarkov, and performance is down across the board. It can be very bad, it can be decent, or it can be, you know, somewhere in between the two, depending on what sort of configuration a user has for their PC, what sort of hardware they have, what sort of software they're working with around the game itself, even the operating system that they're running it on, whichever version they happen to be on. Of course, most of them will be on Windows. But I've even seen some things about certain updates with Windows, those recent and not so recent, that have been encountering problems with the game. But that's all to say that we're sort of in what I would call a dark age of SPT. Whereas things used to be so good, so gold, and so shining with 3.9.8, and even some of the versions after that, and even immediately after it, where I was feeling pretty optimistic about 3.10.5 and 3.11, 3.11.1. I have to admit that I no longer do. I spend a lot of time on Discord and in comment sections reading about and discussing the many issues present with the game in its current state. And while we knew that the game itself has always been very CPU intensive and requires some pretty beefy hardware just to run in the first place, those requirements have seemed to skyrocket. And once again, I'll refer you to my performance video that I released recently, showing each of the maps in the most recent version of SPT, which of course is 3.11.1 at the moment, so that you can get a good look at just how it runs on a very mid-range PC like the one that I'm using here right now. Typically with other games, and of course, I don't really play very many new games. A lot of new games don't interest me very much at the moment, and I think that that's something that speaks to something else with the game industry right now in 2025. The way that things are, the way that things have been for the past few years, as a matter of fact. I mostly spend my time playing older games, and even right now I'm currently waiting for my Retroid Pocket 5 to show up in the mail so that I can load it up with some of my favorite old console games and even some ports that I really, really enjoy playing, much more than I do anything that was made super recently. However, when it comes to SPT, I was really hoping that it in itself would have a much more adjusted sort of longevity. Sounds like I hit him. And I should say first of all that it indeed does with 3.9.8 because I have kept my installation. I currently have 2 installations going of this game. Just the two that I always used to use to make videos when it was most recently a thing. I can hear him. He's like right up there, right above me.
Hello to my little friend!
Oh no, that guy was behind me. Now I definitely do plan to keep these installations of 3.9.8 indefinitely, because I do have some kind of fear that perhaps we'll never return to the state that this game actually managed to reach. And I very much obviously enjoy its stability and its mod flexibility. The time before the changes to the maps took place, and also to the base EFT code, which introduced so much information having to be parsed whenever a bot spawns or is killed. Ultimately just making this a much smoother experience, and of course more enjoyable overall. And not to mention, this was also the golden age of mods like realism. Things were just so good in this particular version, in this state of affairs. And I had so much fun with it, and I continue to have so much fun with it, and I have plans to sort of continue things on as if they were more fresh. I can come up with a new play route. I can come up with new playthrough ideas. and just sort of start from scratch all over again with the notion in mind that I won't have to adjust to a new version again for a while, because most of us, I would say, are currently waiting for the next version of SPT to see what's actually going to happen with it. That'll probably be SPT 4.0. At least that's what we're anticipating that it'll be. And we're seeing that some mods, like Realism Mod for example, but also Sane and other things like More and Swag Donuts are no longer being developed very strongly for SPT 3.11, and that's likely because of the inherent difficulty that the developers are having to face trying to adapt a lot of the changes that have been made in EFT that are making the process much worse, much more difficult. What was that? And just doesn't seem necessarily worth the effort of the time for them, and they're anticipating the changes in SPT 4.0 to reflect those that will be made in EFT to actually optimize the game a little bit further, introduce changes possibly to the actual engine, to the Unity engine, to actually continue their work. And I can't say I blame them. I myself am not a developer, but I try to follow their projects as closely as I can, and of course I always hear them talked about on Discord. So I don't mind the wait. Obviously, I'm going to be kept very nice and satisfied with 3.9.8 for the time being, and what's interesting about that is that I'm starting to feel about it the way that I do about Stalker Anomaly, and to some extent Gamma, but mostly Anomaly. I'm a big fan of Anomaly. I think the Gamma does try to bring it a little bit too closely to the Tarkov format. However, that's just for my own interests in like usage. I think that the game excels the most in the Anomaly format, and I think that it's best in that way, and I really, really enjoy that format for the game. Those mods are amazing, makes the game feel so good, and it seems like the way that I should have always enjoyed it to begin with. And I'm glad that it's a thing now, I'm glad that we can have it, and I'm probably also going to keep that for as long as I possibly can, because I definitely don't want to lose it. So while it is a shame to confirm, at least through conversation, that we will not be getting SPT Realism or any of the other Big 3 or Big 4 or Big 5 mods for SPT 3.11, it is still encouraging to know that they're probably still going to be in development at some point, even though there may not be very much news about it right now, for a future version of SPT. So just like always before, the object is patience. If you want to play with those mods again eventually, just sit around and have hope. Play some other games, enjoy yourself in some other way, and, you know, see if they ever come about. If I should ever find any more confirmation about their being worked on, by the way, I will come back to actually say that. And a good place to sort of stay up to date on all that, of course, is just to watch the comments on the hub site. If you want, you can join the SPT Pub Discord server, where all the most current information is kept very closely. And we also constantly discuss these things in the Club StarVox Discord server. We encourage you to join us. I did hear footsteps. So if you're holding out for the next version of SPT, let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to know your feelings about all this, because, as I said before, this is what I would call a dark age for SPT. The majority of comments that I'm seeing from users are about poor performance, and they're about still lamentations regarding the SPT subreddit, by the way, going just completely read-only. It's no longer publicly available to all users. That was a primary source of information for many people, and since it's been cut off, I'm sure many users themselves feel completely cut off. They don't have access to the information that they did before. It can be much more difficult to see in a public forum type way what exactly is going on with the game. Am I not like standing in light? How long is it gonna have to approach me? Do I just hold still and wait it out? Is he the mysterious friendly AI that can possibly spawn? This is the old version of Sane, after all. I say old, but you know, it's 398.
What's on me?
Never mind. I think maybe he was just like not paying attention, I guess, if I had to give an in-universe reason, but then like his like backpedal right there and change of stance made me uncomfortable, so I killed him. But yes, with so little of the major mods development going on for the current version of SPT, despite, I have to say, all of the new mods that have been coming out for SPT 3.11, which I thought are actually really cool. I'm no longer playing that version right now for performance reasons, just because it sucks on my machine. Although I may revisit it soon, depending on what happens, because like I said, some of those mods are really cool. And I love the concepts that are being worked on. I still very much appreciate it. Whoop, there's another guy over there. Whoops. Is he gonna fire? Maybe not. Interesting. The bots seemed much more proficient on factory just a moment ago, didn't they? If I run up on this guy, what'll happen? Will he shoot at me? Whoa, check that out. Ah, he got me. I'm bleeding. Where am I bleeding? The left leg, he blacked it. Ooh. Oh no, that's bad. Oh, I'm still bleeding. That didn't stop the bleed? Am I just like going totally dumb and not remembering which injector to use for all that? Or is it Realism Mod's medical system overriding that? Could be. I think the bots are just having a strange time on interchange right now. It has been a while since I loaded this up, so you know. Let's just shore up the bleed real fast. This guy is terribly injured around the corner. May not have to worry too much about him. Pistol out. Bring him down. Check the ammunition. This thing's full. That's good. Arrange this over here. What's my reload speed right now? Pretty fast. That's good. CMS on the leg. So let's go in here for just a sec. I think it was F6. Yep. I know I changed this around to just like... I tried to bring the difficulty up just by tuning up one of the presets, so let's just go back to default. And I think, general, let's check performance. Performance mode is off. AI limit is running. Save all changes. Quit that. And then see if that makes the bots a bit more dangerous here on the map. We will see. I'm hearing more fighting. I have been this whole time, so there's plenty of activity. That's great. What was that? I thought I heard a click-clack over in this direction, but maybe I... Whoa! Whoa! Oh! He's reloading. Go ahead and stand up. Ow! Ow! Stand up in a much less dangerous fashion. Ugh. So let me address one thing really quickly, which is FIKA. I'm sure that if you're familiar with SPT, you're probably also familiar with the concept of FIKA. So FIKA is an alternative system for modding Tarkov. It uses a different framework from what I understand that SPT does. I've never actually used it myself, but as I understand, it can be very beneficial for performance to use because it can actually offload the server for the game from the singular user PC, like with SPT here, to an additional PC that's either nearby or remote. And that obviously removes the need for your actual game computer to run things like the AI behavior, AI spawns, and stuff like that. And I mean, it's pretty much how EFT works itself. So that's why performance can be better in live EFT versus SPT, because the responsibility is taken away from your own computer so that things can be handled remotely, and that obviously saves you on PC resources and stuff like that. The reason I do not use FIKA is because, first of all, I don't want to endanger my channel. If you're familiar with my channel in the long run, if you've been here for a while, you know that I've had to deal with copyright strikes from BSG in the past, and I think that it can be pretty easy to approach the line where it's dangerous to discuss things about modding Tarkov. I no longer show anything like installation methods. I don't discuss installation methods or anything like that. And I don't provide links to specific things that can change like EFT game files or anything like that, because I think I was up to 2 strikes before, and the third one would have taken my channel out, and I was like, no way, I put way too much hard work into this. So I backed off from that entirely. That's not to say that FIKA in itself is guaranteed to be a dangerous concept. I'm really not too sure about that. It's just my move for safety here on the channel, and I've discussed that a little bit in the comments and on Discord and everything. A lot of my frequent audience members are probably going to know that already because I've said so in one place or another, but I'm not sure if I've ever actually addressed it here with my voice in a video. So if you're ever wondering why I don't just try FIKA to, you know, save myself on some PC struggling and some strain on my hardware, that's why. I'm not perfectly certain that showing it on my channel would not be a danger to the integrity of my channel. So I just play the safe way, and I don't use it. Now, I also think that there's a bit of principle involved in that the usage of FIKA requires a bit more work and some extra steps that I think most people just don't want to go through. And it would also just be beyond the skills of a certain percentage of the player base. So they would have to, you know, find some extensive tutorials, do some reading and learning about how games work and like how servers work and how to actually run networking for a modded game in the first place to even be able to approach it on their own, and that would just be a little bit too much for people. One of the appeals of SPT is that it's very easy to set up. Most of like the software just does all the work for you, and that I suppose is still kind of a consequence in regards to how much in PC resources is indeed required by it. But the ease of setup, the low time to get it running, and also just obviously the need for a singular system is a huge benefit in that regard. So for those reasons, I don't feature FIKA on my channel. If ever in the future that changes, obviously you'll know because I'll come on here and I'll demonstrate it, but I don't think that that's going to happen. I'm not perfectly certain that that's ever going to happen in the future. Don't think that I'm totally ignoring it. While I'm not huge on the concept myself, I definitely am aware that it exists and it's a part of the whole ecosystem, and I like to sort of keep up with it. With my friends on Discord, they often tell me about their experiences with it and how it's being worked on, and what works for it and what does not. From what I understand, some, if not many, SPT mods just don't work properly. They're like not compatible with FIKA in one way or another. Whoa. And obviously that's going to be a problem for me because in terms of the actual content, on my channel, which at least started out as a showcase of new mods, and how a multitude of mods actually work and work together. Oh my god. Alright, come on. This is bad. Let's not stand here. I was just gonna try to hit him with that one shot. So for any of those mods just to not work at all, to be incompatible with the base framework of the mod system that I'm using, just wouldn't be a good thing for the content of my channel, I feel like. Like I said, if that ever changes, I'll let you know. Something else I'd like to approach about Escape from Tarkov in general is that I'm a little surprised that people are still playing Escape from Tarkov in its current state. Not to say that it's not it's like a bad game now necessarily, but I would say that in general, it's become rather predatory in nature, and I mean, we saw what happened with the Unheard Edition and everything that's sort of happened since, all of the backstepping that BSG has done and the practices that they have. I don't know, I just don't necessarily agree with it all. It doesn't seem good for such a live service game to do what they've been doing. And of course, with the way that maps have changed lately, and also the way that just the core of the software has changed, that's impacting performance for a lot of users, I don't know, I just don't... I myself obviously haven't been tempted to play live EFT since I discovered SPT, but I think even more so now, I'm just not at all inclined to load it up, and of course I don't, because I don't want anything to happen to my SPT installation. I also don't want to compromise my account because I obviously need EFT to continue running properly so that I can enjoy SPT. But, you know, I wouldn't encourage anyone to go support the game necessarily, obviously, and, you know, that's just like right now, I suppose, too. Alright, I don't think he's in here, and it's dangerous because of the gas. But like, people that come to me and ask if they should buy Escape from Tarkov, I pretty much just say, yeah, you know, you can get the standard version so that you can play SPT and then mod it up the way that you want to. However, that'll be somewhat difficult now for users who don't have the proper hardware configurations to actually get SPT 3.11.1 to run properly. It's just not very feasible. There's so many other games that run very, very well. And even in the same genre, I would much rather steer someone towards Stalker Anomaly if they want this sort of thematic experience with an in-depth weapon system, lots of trade, lots of quests, lots of travel and stuff like that. Still be able to have like an interconnected world to enjoy. Is that a guy? It is a guy. Whoa, I didn't mean to actually fire twice. Let me change my fire mode to single shot. Zoom out a bit. See if he's still there. I'm gonna spam call on my cell phone. I'm gonna ignore that. But EFT as a whole right now, like Escape from Tarkov, like I'm very sorry. I just couldn't recommend it at the moment. I'm sure there are a lot of people still having a great time with it. It probably doesn't affect many gamers the way that it does me. Obviously, lots of you have much better hardware than I do, and it's not as much of a problem. Wow, did I kill him on that first shot? That's pretty cool. I like it when that happens. I don't think he had very much on him. But, you know, if you don't have the hardware for it, if you're even a little bit, like, on the fence about whether it will perform well for you or not, I mean, I would just say, play something else. In the meantime, who was that? Find something else to enjoy. Just wait for a little bit. Whoa! Wait to see if an update improves performance, wait to see if an update adds some content that you're interested in, and then think about the investment. Because at this point, this ongoing beta situation for Tarkov is indeed an investment more than it is just buying access to the game, just like buying a copy of the game. Oh, he's up on the bridge. Did you see that? That ought to bring him down. Big hit. So just give it a little time. You know, give it some time to adjust. Give yourself some time to find something that you really enjoy. And maybe fill your time with something else in the genre. Play Stalker, play Metro, play any of the other Sims, play Arma. Play Arma 3 with some mods. Try to make it as close to a Tarkov or Stalker-like game as you want. And see how much fun you have with that, and then consider maybe the differences with Escape from Tarkov, and those being like the high-quality gun models, the high quality of like the integrity of the ballistic mechanics, the cool animations, and also just like the graphics and everything like that too. Like if you like all those things enough to want to be able to invest in the game, then go for it. But outside of that, I'd say just wait. And, like I said, this is what I would call a dark age of SPT, so perhaps the genre is just struggling a little bit at the moment. This isn't the first time it's done that. We've been there before, and we'll be there again. But it's gonna be okay, because things will continue to develop. All the developers of SPT, all the mod developers are still hard at work, even if it doesn't seem like that on the surface level. Things will change in the future, and do not forget that we're always still waiting for the next game in the genre. It won't be Tarkov forever. There's going to be something else that pops up that will fill the gap, that will fit all the needs, that will suit us just as we want it to. Give us a great time. It'll perform very well across multiple hardware systems. So for everyone struggling with Escape from Tarkov and SPT right now, I just say be patient and enjoy something else for the time being. If you still have an old version of SPT like 3.9.8, then enjoy that for as long as you want, because it's not going to change obviously. Just make sure not to delete your files, and you'll continue to have a good time, as long as you don't mind playing the same game mechanics, and without changing mods, of course, because there are no more mods being developed for that version. Then just keep going. Because if you're like me, you just enjoy the environment, you enjoy the experience. Like this guy, he's just taking in the sights, having a good time, getting shot by a player, just sort of like really living it up, living his best life. And you can too. I totally promise that things will get better in the future. We're waiting for that next game, we're waiting for the, 1.0 version of EFT, we're waiting for SPT 4.0. There's still a lot on the horizon, and there's still more content coming from me. So, you know, like and subscribe and all that, or else you might just end up like this guy with 3 mysterious black dots across your PAKA armor in the video game SPT. And I'll see you next time.